The Violin of Mr. Cricket. Chapter 1, Mr. Cricket and the Violin. On a beautiful summer night, Mr. Cricket took out his violin. His name was Ken, and he was the best violinist in the forest. Every night, under the moonlight, he played elegant music that resonated throughout the forest. Ken's violin was an old but precious gift from his grandfather, who was also a renowned violinist. His music brought joy to the forest creatures. Ken wanted to bring joy to everyone like his grandfather and practiced diligently every day. One day, Ken came up with a new melody. "I'll play this for everyone in the forest," he thought excitedly and decided to hold a night concert. However, he was a little worried. Will everyone like it? He wondered. That night, Ken began practicing under the moonlight. His music spread throughout the forest, carried by the wind. Small animals were drawn to the sound and started gathering. Lily the squirrel, Fred the frog, and Millie the rabbit came to listen to Ken's performance. "Ken, your violin is wonderful," Lily said. Fred added, "It's truly moving. Please play more." Millie smiled and said, "Ken's music touches my heart." Encouraged by his friend's words, Ken played even harder. His music became more beautiful, shimmering like the stars in the night sky. The forest creatures were captivated by Ken's music, and that night became a special moment. Chapter 2, Meeting Friends in the Forest. The next morning, Ken went for a walk in the forest to meet new friends. With the confidence he gained from the night concert, he wanted more friends to hear his music. As he walked through the forest, he met Chick, a bird singing under a large tree. Chick had a beautiful voice and entertained the forest creatures. Ken approached Chick and said, "Hello, Chick. Would you like to play with my violin?" Chick, surprised but delighted, replied, "That's a wonderful idea. Let's play together." They started an impromptu session on the spot, and Ken's violin and Chick's singing harmonized beautifully. The animals around them listened, enjoying the beautiful music. Further into the forest, Ken met Tommy the turtle by the riverbank. Tommy was quietly meditating by the water. "Hello, Tommy. Would you like to hear my music?" Ken asked. Tommy opened his eyes and smiled. "Of course, Ken. I'm looking forward to it." Ken took out his violin and played a special song for Tommy. Tommy listened intently, visibly relaxing. "Your music soothes the soul." "Thank you, Ken," Tommy expressed his gratitude. Ken continued to walk through the forest, playing for new friends. Everywhere he went, his music was welcomed, and all the animals became Ken's friends. Ken was moved by how much joy his music could bring to so many friends and grew to love his violin even more. Chapter 3, A Quiet Concert. One evening, Ken decided to hold a special concert in a secret spot deep in the forest. This place was by a small lake, and the full moon's light reflected on the water, creating a magical atmosphere. Ken loved this place and eagerly looked forward to playing there. Ken told his forest friends about the concert. "Tonight, I'll hold a concert in a special place. Please come," he announced. His friends were thrilled and looked forward to gathering together. As night fell and the full moon shone, Ken took his violin and headed to the secret spot. His friends had already gathered and were sitting by the lake. Lily, Fred, Millie, Chick, Tommy, and many new friends were there. Ken took a deep breath and began to play. His music spread across the lake, beautifully harmonizing with the surrounding silence. His friends listened quietly, captivated by Ken's performance. At that moment, Chick started singing along with Ken's music. Her beautiful voice perfectly harmonized with the violin, making the music even more wonderful. Ken and Chick's duet, along with the moonlight reflected on the lake, created a magical moment. When the concert ended, Ken's friends gave a big round of applause. "Ken, your violin is truly wonderful," Lily said. Fred added, "Tonight became a special night, thanks to you." Ken smiled contentedly. "I'm so glad everyone enjoyed it. I want to keep playing music for everyone," he said. His friends agreed, "Let's keep playing together." That night, Ken and his friends had a great time by the lake, feeling the power of friendship and music. He vowed to cherish his violin even more and continue bringing beautiful music to his forest friends. Chapter 4: Overcoming Difficulties. One day, Ken's violin suddenly broke. The instrument he cherished so much was no longer usable, and Ken was devastated. "What should I do? I can't play anymore," he said sadly. His friends immediately came to his side. "Ken, are you okay?" Lily asked worriedly. Fred added, "Let us know if we can help." Ken replied, "Thank you, everyone. But this violin is a precious gift from my grandfather, and it's not easy to fix." His friends understood and decided to cheer him up. Chick suggested, "I've heard there's an old craftsman in the forest who is great at repairing instruments. Let's go visit him." Ken felt hopeful at those words and nodded, "Yes, it's worth a try." His friends took Ken to the old craftsman's house deep in the forest. The craftsman was an elderly squirrel with gentle eyes who had repaired many instruments. Ken showed him the broken violin and asked, "Can you fix this instrument?" The craftsman examined the violin carefully and said, "This is a fine instrument. It may take some time, but I'll do my best." Ken thanked him, and he and his friends waited at the craftsman's house. A few days later, the craftsman finished repairing the violin. "How about this?" he said, handing the violin back to Ken. Ken, nervous but hopeful, took the violin and played it. A beautiful sound resonated throughout the forest. "Thank you so much." Ken expressed his gratitude to the craftsman. His friends were also delighted. What a wonderful sound. Ken was filled with joy to be able to play his violin again and deeply thanked the craftsman and his friends. Chapter 5: A Melody That Touches Everyone's Heart. After Ken's violin was repaired, he continued to play with even more enthusiasm. His forest friends were moved by his music, and his concerts became increasingly popular. Every night, Ken held concerts in the forest square, and many animals gathered to enjoy his music. One night, Ken decided to play a special piece. It was a song his grandfather had taught him, one that held deep meaning for Ken. With his heart full, Ken began to play the violin. The sound echoed throughout the forest, and the animals listened quietly. Ken's performance was so moving that his friends were brought to tears. Lily, Fred, Millie, and everyone was touched by Ken's music. When the performance ended, his friends gave a big round of applause. Ken, your music is truly wonderful. It deeply touched our hearts, Lily said. Fred added, thanks to you, we had such a wonderful night. Ken was overwhelmed with emotion by his friends' words. I'm so glad everyone enjoyed it. I want to keep playing music for all of you, he said. His friends agreed, let's keep playing together. That night, Ken and his friends spent a joyful time in the forest square, feeling the power of friendship and music. Ken vowed to cherish his violin even more and continue bringing beautiful music to his forest friends. Ken's music continued to bring joy and harmony to the forest, creating unforgettable memories for all the animals. And so, the melody of Mr. Cricket's violin became a cherished part of their lives, resonating through the forest for generations to come.